It is story time. Yes, and let me think about this story of mine. It's an odd story this morning. It's a bit of a quirky story. It's a story where you have to make up your mind as to whether this is real or not real. Can this really happen or can it not really happen? But before I begin my story, first of all, I'd like to say good morning to Grey Eagle, who is, as always, to my right side. And I would like to say good morning to Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, everyone.
And once again, we have to thank Chris for her input on this. And I really appreciate it, Chris, what you do for us, because you're giving up your time. None of us getting paid for this, are we?
I think we are in other ways.
Oh, we're getting paid tenfold in so many different ways. All right, so I have a story. Let me see. I'm not quite sure which way around to tell you this story because there are two stories, really. But I think what I'll do is I'll tell you the bigger story, and then I will tell you the smaller story, which will. I'm going on, aren't I, Chris? I'm just waffling away here. Let me get myself together and begin with Once Upon a Time. How about that? Once upon a time, I was living in England at the time, and a knock came at the door, and I had these two lovely ladies standing at the door, completely unexpected. I invited them in, and they were older. One of the ladies was extremely agitated and upset, and they asked if I had time to see them because they were in trouble, is the way they put it. So I sat them down, made them a cup of tea, because I'm a nice person. That's what I usually do with people. I made a cup of tea and I sat them down, and they seemed to be very, very agitated, and one of them especially was extremely upset. And I said, now tell me, what can I do for you? So of course they said, well, we understand that you're a medium. I said, yes. We understand that you talk to dead people. I said, yes. We understand that you might be able to help us to do something else. We're at our wits' end and we don't know what to do. So I said, why don't you start from the beginning? Tell me the story and I'll see if I can help you. So let me tell you these two ladies' story. One came with the other for support. So this lady had a son, and he was married, and he lived with his wife and his children. I don't remember how many they had, 2 or 3. Lived with their children somewhere in some area or region of, it might have been Africa. And he was a very successful young man. His mother was telling me he was very successful. He had his own business, and he was living and working out in this remote place, doing really, really well. His wife, however, she told us, she'd never liked the wife, and the wife had never liked her. You know, sometimes mothers and sons, it can be a bit tricky, and those poor women who married those sons who have mothers who are probably a little bit domineering or what have you, or the mother loves the son to the point where the daughter-in-law feels, hold on a minute, what about me? So I'm listening to this story and I'm wondering at first if it's just a question of the mother and the daughter-in-law just simply not getting on for a variety of reasons, as the mother started to talk about the daughter-in-law and saying that she'd heard from a friend of theirs, a family friend of theirs, who was also working in the same part of the world that her son was working. She'd had a letter from this friend saying that she'd heard that her daughter-in-law had gone to see a woman in a remote village somewhere, taken a photograph of her husband, paid the woman to put a spell on her husband. So I'm a very skeptical person. Are you following this story at all, Chris?
I am. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat.
Well, I'm hoping I'm telling it in the right way. But anyway, all right. So here we have a mother concerned about her son. The son never contacts the mother anymore. Never, even when he comes home to England, never comes to see his mother, except maybe for a 10-minute phone call quickly. I'm in the country, but I can't stop and I can't stay and we can't visit and so on. So for the last 2 or 3 years, the mother had, even though her son had visited England and visited a few times, the mother had rarely seen her grandchildren. And less and less and less was hearing from her son on the phone. And they used to be very, very close. The mother and the son used to be really, really close, and they used to really, really have a great relationship. But over the last 2 or 3 years, she told me this relationship had dwindled to practically nothing. The last time she saw her son, he'd come from wherever, he'd come to England, and he had come to visit her, and he'd stayed for all of a half an hour. And in that half an hour, she noted, first of all, that he'd lost a tremendous amount of weight, that he was extremely nervous. He could barely sit still for longer than 2 minutes. And she was very, very concerned about him. She was very, very worried about him. So now here is a mother telling me about her son. Is she telling me this story because she really hates the daughter-in-law for a variety of reasons? She really hates the daughter-in-law and she just is looking for reasons or excuses. You know, my son isn't happy with her, my son doesn't like her, or my son is henpecked, or whatever it is. Is she just simply looking for reasons, or is this something that is happening, that is real? And she was convinced, the mother, as she was telling me this story, that her son had had a spell cast upon him because he was not as he used to be. So far, this story is about many mothers and sons. So far, this story is about mothers who feel left out or pushed out because the wife takes pride of place now. So far, this story isn't really anything other than just simply a mother who is perhaps a bit angry, resentful, upset, obviously, and concerned because she's now doesn't hold first place in her son's life. His wife holds first place. As we know, that's how it should be. We know that, don't we? So I'm listening and I'm wondering, and of course I'm also checking in with Grey Eagle until it comes to the part that the mother tells me that she'd had this letter a week or two prior from somebody who knows them very well, who has said this, the wife, her daughter-in-law, had been to see someone in this village who was known to put spells on people, who was known to control what happened, and many people would go to see this woman to have these things happen, to put spells on their loved ones. It could be that perhaps a husband was thinking of leaving his wife, so the wife went off and had a spell put on him, thinking that she could get her husband back, or that he would love her regardless. It could be that someone is in need of money, so you go to someone and you get this, whatever this is, this spell. You can call it a curse, you can call it a spell, you can call it whatever you like, but there are people out there in the world who do this sort of thing. And in fact, I had this, well, I'll tell you my story in a little while, but I had this same thing happen to me. But do I take this story seriously? Is this something that is real, or is it simply a mother overprotective of her son and feeling left out because now her son doesn't even live in the same country as she does? So I was asking Grey Eagle, because he knows far more than I do anyway, and he was able to put things in perspective. Did this daughter-in-law really take a photograph of her husband and go and see someone in this remote village and ask for a spell to be put on her husband? Was it really the case? Did this really happen? And if that is what she did it work? Is it possible that someone can put a spell on you, that someone else can control you, even if you don't know that it's happening? Grey Eagle told me to take it seriously and to listen carefully to what this lady was telling me, because in fact, as it turned out, quite a while later, this had actually happened. The wife was wanting to stay where they were in the country that they were in. She was having a great life. Her husband, however, had been missing his family, and so he was talking of going home, going back to England and living in England and moving the business into England. And she, the wife, refused to go. They had numerous arguments up to the point where the wife, then the daughter-in-law, then went off to this person that she'd heard about, someone had told her about, paid her to put a spell on her husband and to actually, I guess, force the issue, or try to force the issue of them staying where they were. Did it work? Well, apparently it did, because the husband suddenly, for no reason at all, now the story unfolds beyond my living room. This is a story, as I'm unfolding this story for you, this is something that we learned later. As it happened, the husband, the son of this lovely woman who came to see me, began losing weight, began not being able to focus or to concentrate on his business. So the business actually started to go downhill a little bit. So there was not nearly the same amount of money that there had been. He also started staying home. He became somewhat of a recluse, and his wife took charge of everything that was going on in their lives. And to the point where the young man became so ill that he actually had to come back to England and be put into some kind of a medical situation where he eventually came back to himself. I mean, is it really what the wife did? Did somebody really put a spell on him? Was he actually cursed? And the answer, as far as I am concerned, is yes, it did happen, because the wife and the energy that the wife was exuding, and the energy that the wife was using and controlling around her husband, had a tremendous negative effect on him. We, though, and thank goodness, the mother of this boy, not a boy really, a man, but her boy, the mother came to me and said, can we help? Is there anything that I could do so that we could help? And Grey Eagle absolutely explained that what we needed to do was to put out our energy. If you like, we were sending out healing prayers, we were sending out good energy, powerful energy, positive energy, which would combat the negative energy that was surrounding this young man and debilitating him and causing him to become someone that he wasn't. When she left my house, this lady and her friend, they were so excited and tearful, so tearful that somehow somebody was listening, paying attention, taking notice, and taking her seriously. And she also went armed with a number of things that she could do. The actual times of the day where she should give over to prayer, where she should give over to visualization, using visualization techniques, where she should visualize her son becoming well and healthy. So you have the mother's energy, the friend's energy, she was included too. You have my energy, you have Grey Eagle's energy. You have all of these things gathered together to combat whatever negative forces there were that were surrounding this young man, which completely changed his character. And slowly and surely, over a matter of perhaps just over a year, and this mother kept coming back to me and filling me in on what was going on. Every couple of months she would either call me, every week at first she would call me to tell me how she was doing, and then also how her son was doing. And slowly and surely and gradually we got him back to his old self. Also, when he came back to England, the friend who had written his mother the letter went to see him and told him what his wife had done. So he had some investigations of his own done, and unfortunately, as these things often turn out, they eventually were divorced, and he gained custody of the children. Of course, why would he want to stay with a woman who wants complete and utter control and who goes to the lengths of getting a spell put on him? Doesn't it seem, though, I mean, you know, I'm telling you this story, and at the same time, I'm thinking, really? Is it possible? I mean, wouldn't you think that it wouldn't be possible that somebody could put a spell on someone? But there are greater things within this universe of ours that happen, and there are powers beyond our understanding or our knowledge that other people can use. You know, we are so used to, in the movies, that I'm thinking James Bond movies and all of these movies where they talk about voodoo and you know, the commercialized version of voodoo is that voodoo is evil, but that it does actually allow for casting spells or putting curses and so on and so forth. Voodoo actually, I don't know if you'd like, perhaps some of you like to look it up, voodoo is actually just a simple religion and based on simple and very good things, except that with anything at all that is religious or spiritual, I hate using the word religion because it's the most misused word in the dictionary. It means something different to every person. But when you're talking about spiritual things and you're talking about energy and you're talking about, you know, I mean, look at the Native Americans, how they used to use the, let's say, the witch doctors or the seers in the village, and how they used to cast the, let's say, I hate to use the word spells, I wish there was another word for it, but how they would use energy and they would conjure up the spirits to help them to heal and so on. And this is something that has been sort of, it's like since time began, we've been doing this kind of thing. But is it real? It was real to this lovely lady. The good news is that her son came back to himself. The bad news is that he did end up divorced, but then eventually found someone else and became happy, and his kids were happy. The bad news is, why would somebody deliberately try to twist or to turn or to use somebody's mind against them? Why would somebody be so awful and so evil-minded as to try and control somebody else or to bend somebody else to their will? I once, many years ago, here's my little part of the story. Many years ago, I was married, and my husband went off with my next door neighbour. Long story, we're not going to be interested in that at all. But there was a time when the woman, my neighbour next door, her mother, for some reason or another, got it in her head that if I was actually out of the way, that her daughter would get everything that I had, like my house, my jewellery, my whatever it is. And definitely this woman was a little crazy, I think. But still, she would, you know, I would get phone calls in the middle of the night, and I would hear this woman say to me, "The streets will run with your blood." And I ended up having to get the police to deal with it for me. But she sort of was taking this to the extremes. People get it into their heads, and she actually did once tell me, "I've got a photograph of you and I know someone who's going to cast a spell on you." and I'm going to curse you. She actually said that to me. There's some crazy people about, but is it crazy, or can people actually do these things? And I do believe that in some circumstances, if somebody is strong-minded enough or determined enough, they can actually try to bend you or to bend a situation to their will. What do we do about it? We have to stay strong. If we know about it, we stay strong. We make sure that we are always connected with the good within us, the love within us, and the what I would like to call that God force within us. Because once we have that God force within us and we use it and we pay attention to it and we feed it, then nothing can come to us, nothing can harm us at all. But there are those people out there who do try to bend a person's will to their own, for their own very, very selfish reasons. And I often get letters from people saying, you know, everything is going wrong in my life. I feel that I'm cursed, or I feel that, you know, there's something not right here. And I always try to take those comments seriously. Having said that, I don't want you all to go out now and be wondering, has anybody got a curse on you or put a spell on you? Because we can combat it with our own positive attitude, with our own God force within us, and understanding that people can only do to you what you allow them to do. So somebody cannot bend you to their will unless you are a willing participant. So this is why I encourage people who are depressed and they don't know why. I encourage them positive thinking, positive thoughts, and positive actions. I'm going to finish this story. You have to tell me, Chris, is it a convoluted story so far? Is it a weird story so far? Am I making myself at all clear in this?
You are making yourself clear. The topic is surreal anyway. What can you do?
Yeah, it is surreal. But I'm going to tell you all something else that happened to me. Oh, I'm going back a long time now. I'm going back to the days when there were hot pants. Chris, you won't even remember that, will you? We had this fashion. It was basically shorts, but they were sort of dressy silk shorts. It was sort of around the time of the miniskirt, when the miniskirt came in, and you know, I had these long legs that went all the way up to my bottom, and I've still got long legs, and they still actually go all the way up to my bottom. But I was in a disco years and years ago, way before I had Samantha, actually. No, actually, that's not right. Samantha was a baby. And my husband at the time was organising a fashion show within this nightclub. And as his wife, of course, I was there trying to help out to do what I could do. Anyway, I was dressed to the nines, as you do. You get dressed up. I was young. My hair was long and flowing down my back and all that sort of stuff. And anyway, and I decided this particular night, this particular time of the night, I needed the bathroom and that blah blah, and so I also needed a bit of a break because I was a bit exhausted. So I went off by myself. I found the ladies' room, spent a little bit of time in there, and then as I'm coming back, the place, now remember it's a nightclub, dark, pitch black, except the disco lights going on here and there, so you couldn't really see anybody in the room, you know, you could, unless they were right next to you. And I'm heading towards where my husband and all of his employees are. There's a big crowd of people over, sort of going forward to the straight on and then over to the left. So I knew exactly where I needed to go. But as I'm walking forward, I had this odd feeling, is the best I can describe it, almost as if someone was watching me. Now, it's a dark room. I'm sure there are lots of people looking at everybody. I'm a people watcher myself, so, you know, but this was sort of an intense and creepy feeling. And as I walked on, and as I went to turn left towards where my crowd were, the strangest thing happened, because it was almost as if this really, really strong, strong magnet was pulling me and forcing me to go to a place in this nightclub that I actually didn't want to go to. So much so that I had to stop. My breathing felt really off. I could feel this magnet pulling me, and I could almost see the eyes of a man way, way in the back of the nightclub drawing me in. It was such a scary feeling. It was so horrible. It was almost like I knew that whatever it was that was there and trying to pull me forward was not a good energy. But at the same time, it was so magnetic, and there was such a really strong magnetic force. And it was only at some point, and this went on for quite a while, I stood there for quite a while, being pulled, literally pulled in an opposite direction to where I needed to go. And it was only by total strength of will, and I am a very strong-minded person, you must understand. It was only by total strength of will that I was able to suddenly feel myself, because I was so scared, and I was so scared of this feeling of this force that was starting to surround me. And I just gritted my teeth, thought of the light, put myself in the light, gritted my teeth, and was able to break away. But it's a feeling I've actually never forgotten. And it is also the same sort of feeling when you're dealing with evil and when you're dealing with evil entities. And I'm going to tell you stories about that at some point in the future, not too soon, because I don't want to sort of scare you all. But anyone who thinks that there isn't evil or there isn't negativity in this world, think again, because unfortunately, where there is light, there is always dark. The opposites always apply, because that's the universal way. So, having said all of that to you, I think I'll end now with, and that's my story for today. In the end, Chris.
I have so many thoughts and questions of my own, but you have a ton sitting here.
Okay.
I'm going to start out of order because I think it's important to ask this question right on top of you ending your story. So this question or comment is from Kathleen.
Morning, Kathleen.
Rosemary, this is an interesting story, but it doesn't really offer proof that the spell was indeed what was making this young man ill. It also very possible that the toxic relationship with his wife was enough to cause him to become anxious and lose weight, pull away from his mother, etc. His wife's intent was powerful, and as thought affects matter, she may have been responsible for the bad vibes created. I question the reality of curses because in the psychic professions, casting and removing curses has only been practiced by unethical practitioners.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. and yes, there is absolutely no proof whatsoever that, well, there is proof because we did see the letter, we did see, and the husband did actually tackle his wife and deal with it, and found out that she had in fact gone to this person and had in fact put a spell on him. So we do have proof that it was done. What we don't have proof of is, and you're quite right, yes, of course it could have been the wife's energy. Of course it could have been absolutely, her doing, and the toxic energy that sort of involved them, except that he became in many ways, very docile, and did exactly as she told him to do, because this was going on for quite a while. And whether or not this was a spell, whether or not it is the wife's energy, what we tried to do was we tried to surround him with good, positive energy, so that at the end of the day, he was in a fit state to be able to make up his own mind. You were absolutely right. Yes, of course it could have been his wife, and not anything to do with the spell. The woman who called me up and she used to say quite regularly, sort of in this dramatic voice, the streets will run with your blood. I mean, she was, you could put her down as a crazy if you like, but when you're at the receiving end of it, it's not so crazy. And the mind is a powerful thing, and little seeds are created. And had I been the kind of person to allow that little seed to grow and to think that this woman had power over me, that could have possibly been so also. And also the fact there are people out there who practice these kinds of art, and I personally try not to have anything to do with any of them, but I believe that good overrides bad any day of the week. I believe good overrides evil any day of the week, but some of us just need to know how to combat that by bringing good energy into our own lives, and bringing good energy and the power of thought and the power of prayer. I totally agree with everything that this lovely lady's saying. She's not saying anything that I wouldn't ordinarily say myself. I just thought it was an interesting story, in that if you believe it, then, if you believe that someone has cast a spell, it's like, the doctor tells you you've got 3 months to live, and so that's it. At the end of 3 months, that's it. You've decided. Your mind can play tricks on you. It's interesting that this man knew nothing at all about this spell, curse, call it whatever you will. It's interesting that he knew nothing about it until he came back to England and started his own investigations and realised, and I don't think he divorced his wife because of her going to see someone else. I think he divorced his wife that she could be so underhand and so needing to be in control, and going to the lengths that she did to try to destroy his family and to try to destroy his relationship with his mother. So we can go back and forth on this, and I think it's an interesting topic, which is why I told the story. But anyway, there's more to heaven and earth than we think. Chris, do you have any comments on this?
I actually have a question.
Go for it.
So if a thought is a tiny pulse of energy that goes out to the universe and
Yes.
gathers like energy, and it must return to us,
Yes.
the people that are casting spells, how do they protect themselves from that? How do they even decide to do something that's going to come back so negative?
Well, they can't, can they? Because these people are not realizing that it actually, everything that is energy always returns to its source. So I have no idea how they protect themselves, but in my view, they can't really protect themselves. Anybody who wants to practice these, what we call them dark arts, anyone who wants to practice these dark arts takes the consequences of their actions. Okay. Moving on.
All right. So you have all kinds of good mornings. As far away as Colombia and Italy and the Netherlands, all over the U.S. So everybody's saying good morning and love from the places they're at.
Well, good morning, good morning. Thanks to all of you, and thank you all for joining me. We love this, don't we, Chris? We love having our story time. Some of the stories are sort of a little bit out there, like this morning's story is a little bit out there, and some of these stories are sort of wow stories. I'm going to tell, I've already decided, because I was debating this morning, should I tell this story or should I tell a story about the lady with the severed hand? And you know the story about the lady with the severed hand, Chris.
That is so amazing.
Because you met the daughter. Anyway, but we'll tell that story next week. If you remind me, Chris, we'll tell that story, which sounds like a horrible story, but it turned out to be a fantastic and a wonderful healing story that we have here. So many different stories, and those stories are so diverse, and I like to give you, a taste of all of this stuff. Anyway, let's move forward.
Okay. So Asma has a question.
Morning.
Hello, loads of love and blessings to you. I'm curious to know about my father's life story. He built himself from rags to riches and was a wealthy man. But for the past 25 years, not only is he into deep financial crisis and troubles, but his children are facing the same struggles. They're under debt, and every day is a struggle. Is there any curse on my father and our family?
I'm looking to Grey Eagle for this. We've already decided that whether or not you are cursed or you've had a spell cast on you and so on, you can combat it with prayer, with looking to God, looking to the light, and also you can combat it with positive thinking. Apparently, no, there is not a curse on you. Nobody has actually laid a curse on you. Don't want any more of these questions, everybody, because here's the deal. I've told you how to combat whatever negativity is going on in your lives. And the last thing I want is for anybody out there to be thinking, oh gosh, well, my life's awful at the moment. Maybe someone put a curse on me. This story is, let me tell you, in all the years that I've been working as a spiritual medium, I've only had 2 or 3 issues where I've had something similar to this happen. It is a rarity. And no matter how strongly other people might want to affect you, or they might want to bend your will to their will, no matter how much they try to do that, people can only do to you what you allow them to do. So, asthma, don't allow it. It's as simple as that. So no more of those questions, Chris.
Okay.
Otherwise, I shall start regret telling the story, and I don't want to do that.
Well, it does sort of leave a creepy feeling, doesn't it? We want to be uplifted.
Yeah.
All right. So Betta is on.
Morning, Betta.
Blessed Saturday to all of you. I'd like to know if my grandmother Hannah does the same thing as when she was on Earth, knitting and cooking, and also if she wears her favorite purple vest.
Wow. I'm looking to Grey Eagle for this question, and I'm going to tell you that she has other things to do. And I love knitting, I love cooking, I love all of those things, but I also love exploring. Perhaps that's what your grandmother is doing, my darling, but I do think she has other things to do. And as for the purple vest, Grey Eagle's laughing. Purple is, for those of you who don't know about your colours and colour energy, purple is a very spiritual colour. So I'm hoping she's wearing purple in one form or another, but that's simply my hope. Okay, Chris.
Valvacious says, I read this story in Rosemary's book, You Own the Power, Stories and Exercises to Inspire and Unleash the Force Within.
Okay.
So obviously she loved that story.
Well, I hope you like my telling of it also. It's one thing to read stories, and then some of these stories I've written about, some of the stories for Storytime I've already written about, and some of them I have, are new and will come to you new and different. But I don't know about any of you out there, but when I once went to see Stephen King, who's one of my favourite authors. I know you probably think, whoa, that's because it's a creepy subject, but it isn't actually. It's one of my favourite authors because of all of the authors I've ever read, he is one of those up there, way up there. The use of the words, he has not only an incredible vocabulary, the use and how he uses words is just heart-stopping for me. So I'll read through his books and he'll just put something, he'll use a phrase where he'll say something in just that certain way that just makes you go, wow. And when I went to see him, my hope was that he would tell me some of his stories that he'd already written about. But I think when you hear the author tell the story, you perhaps get a little extra because you can only put so much in a book, and so you might get the story a little bit more expanded, a little bit, more than. So it's always great to hear the author. I hope you feel that way about it, Valvacious. I hope that reading about it and my telling about it is sort of, a better experience. Okay, Chris.
All right. RT is writing, and this skims the line of what you just asked me not to read, but
Okay.
I think we're okay.
Okay.
So I used to feel physically awful around my mother, so now I have no contact. I don't get symptoms as much, but I do feel very sick sometimes regarding her. I
Right.
think it's possible something is being cast upon me. Can you clarify, please?
I'm not sure, darling, that it's being cast upon you. I think it's more that perhaps, uh, you know, there are different types of energy. We're all born with a certain type of energy. If you read soul signs, you'll understand it better. There are basically five pockets of energy that have to do with this earth cluster that we are part of. And this soul cluster that we are in uh, is made up of um, basically five different types of energy, and I'm sort of putting this, as simply as I can, but it is so often the case. You sort of, for instance, if you're feeling happy and a friend of yours comes and they stay for half an hour, and when they leave you feel so depressed because their energy has depressed you, or their energy is not compatible with your energy. And I think that perhaps, your mother and her energy is a little bit toxic, and as far as you're concerned, certainly. And it's no wonder it makes you feel ill. It's no wonder it makes you feel sick, because toxic energy coming from anywhere at all. And if you are, as I suspect you are, a very sensitive person, you're going to sense it, going to feel it much more so than many people ordinarily would. So I think that's what's happening. I don't think it's anything that's been cast upon you. I think it's just, the idea of, and when you're thinking of someone, you're connecting with their energy as well. And so, I think that because you are ultra sensitive in this area, then any sort of negativity, any sort of energy that is not compatible with your own, is going to affect you tremendously. And I think also perhaps with your mother, it's perhaps even worse, and you probably feel it worse because, after all, the mother is the one who is supposed to love us and take care of us and all the rest of it. And coming from a mother who didn't do that for me, I'm totally with you here on this. And sometimes the thoughts of my mother make me feel physically ill too. Not necessarily the thoughts of her, but sometimes thinking about the things that she used to do. I was actually thinking about it this morning and trying my very best to think, we all try to do our best. I'm thinking this, what I'm thinking to myself this morning. We all try to do our very best, even though very often our best is not good enough. And then I questioned myself, because I know that not all of us do try to do our best. We try to do our best for ourselves, which is not necessarily the best for anyone around us. So not a spell, not a curse, just an incompatibility of energy. Yes, Chris.
Mark is on. As you
Mark.
know, he had his procedure the other day.
How are you doing, my darling?
Well, he says, I love, love, love your stories. Rosemary, with Gray Eagle on your right side, I'm sure he touches your shoulder quite often.
He
And
does.
I hope that my spirit guide will do
Even
the same
now.
for me. The young brother who you gave the initial G to, whom I never met, does he or my spirit guide have a message for me?
Yes, you need to pay more attention to taking care of your own self and your own spirituality and what is going on with you. You need to, Mark, trust yourself more. Trust in yourself. I think that your downfall is that you have in so many ways, and have been battered by life's experiences in the past. You've sort of lost the ability to trust in yourself a little bit. So uh, this is tapping me on the shoulder. This is what they're saying. Okay, Chris.
Cheryl's asking,
Hi, Cheryl.
only one question from me.
Oh,
Is there anything about my health making me so tired, or is it energy drain? I'm tired.
I do feel that your little trip to the doctor might be in order. I think you might sort of, well, or you can take some spinach because maybe a little lack of iron. Maybe I think it's energy depletion. I think you're allowing things to get on top of you. I think you are simply tired, but I think also you with people take iron tablets, and I take spinach, but spinach is very bad for me, so I'm not allowed to take it anymore. It contains oxalates, which are really bad for the kidney thing. Anyway, but why don't you? We're going to put you on our healing book, my darling, and but just take a little trip to the doctor and have him check you over too. I think it's just a small thing, but I think you could use some help. Yes, next, Chris.
All right, Maggie's on. Thank you,
Hi,
Rosemary.
Maggie.
This story reminds me to keep my thoughts positive, not to let bad energy or thoughts to take me over. People are vindictive and
Yes.
need to win.
Yes. Well, Maggie, that was my hope. It was my hope for you that listening to this story is a reminder that, people can only do to you what you allow them to do. I keep saying this over and over, but it's so true. And staying positive. But unfortunately, there are so many of us who do have to deal far too often with people who are mean, or people who are vindictive, or people who just, for whatever reason, they don't like you. Jealousy or anger, or the fact that they feel that, I don't know, whatever. For whatever reason, people are vindictive. We can only win if we stay positive, positive, positive. We can only win against these people, if we are reminded on a daily basis that we can do this, we can beat this. We don't have to. Our lives are not determined by someone else unless we allow them to be. Yes, Chris, keep going here.
Diana's asking,
Hi, Diana.
can you tell me what happened to my stomach when I went to a bed and breakfast with my sister last month?
No, I'd love to be able to tell you. First of all, I wasn't there, and second of all, I need a bit more information than that. Again, though, let me just say this. Energy is everything. And, sometimes we'll go into a place and it simply doesn't suit us. It's not that it's not clean. It's not that it's not well cared for. It's just simply not the energy which is compatible with our own energy, not the energy which is good for us. If you are a sensitive enough person that you know if something is wrong with your energy when you walk into a place or when you meet someone for the first time, if you are aware of it, you can combat it. But sometimes, we're not even aware. We go into, we'll go into a cafe, we'll go into a restaurant, we go into, different places, and we don't know if there's good energy in there or bad energy in there. Sometimes, I'll go into a restaurant and the food might be great, but the energy is awful because, there's a lot of backbiting and fighting, or people who are negative, or people in the kitchen hate each other, whatever's going on. And unbeknowing, we can be affected. So it may well be that you had an aversion to the energy in the place which set your tummy off. So, but let me know. Email me, rosemary@rosemaryaLtea.com. Yes, Chris.
Ravi has a question.
Okay, good morning, Robbie.
Good morning, Rosemary. Hope you are doing good. Lovely to see you again. My parents, and to some level me and my siblings, were affected by ancestral entities. With the help of a medium and a psychic in India, we did everything to clear these ancestral entities and had profound results after clearing them. However, my parents are still getting negativity affected by it. So I wanted to understand, why are my parents still getting affected and what can be done about it? I wanted to have a second opinion.
I would say, without knowing too much about it, Robbie, I would say that your parents maybe are closer to the people who are affecting them and having these, this negativity that surrounds them. They're maybe more invested in some of the things that have happened to them and the negativity, and can't perhaps let it go or find it difficult to let it go. If you would like to email me and send me your parents' names, I don't need all the history, but just ask for healing and for a cleansing. Greg and I will certainly, absolutely be willing to just send you a nice cleansing. We won't charge. You don't have to worry about paying me for it. We'll just we'll send that using our thoughts, using our energy, and we should put you and your parents in the healing book so that on a daily basis you will get healing from us. And I'd love to sort of, as we go along and as we do it, if you'd like to do this as we're going along, let me know how effective this is to you, and if we can sort of combat what is going on here with your parents.
Mark has a general question. I think many would like to know about this. Many mediums and psychics have passed. Do they or are they spirit guides now?
No.
An example is Sylvia Brown passed some time. Does her spirit still communicate?
I don't know about that. Never having been connected with Sylvia Brown in any way. Maybe she does connect still with her family and her friends. I've no idea. But no, I mean, will I be a spirit guide when it's my turn? No, I don't have nearly that experience. I'm not nearly that evolved. But we do have perhaps a little bit more knowledge. I'm not sure if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. I'm sure when it's my turn to go over there, Gregel's laughing at me as I'm saying this to you. I'm sure that, somebody's going to say to me, well, you did this and this right, but, you could have worked better at doing this and this. It doesn't make us all knowing and all seeing. It simply means that we have a gift, and if we use it, that's great, and we should always make sure to use it in the right way. But certainly, we're not, we're not, how can I put it? We don't have any more advantage than anybody else at the end of the day. Right. Keep going, Chris.
Bright Star says, I once met a Portuguese medium who told me that my child is very angry with me because I aborted her, and that she has an influence on the misery in my life. What awful people live here on earth.
Yes, and that's it. Oh God, please tell me that isn't so at all. I did explain, I'm not sure which show it was, but I did explain, and I will mention this again. There are those in the spirit world who come here, and they come here simply for the experience of the womb, or they come here simply for the experience of taking that first breath. They come here to experience, but then it has absolutely nothing to do with you. If, for instance, a soul wants to continue with this life and has intentions of continuing here with this life on this earth, it's got nothing to do with us, and we'll find ourselves, whether we planned an abortion or whether whatever it is, somehow or another it will be prevented. But there are so many souls who simply just want the experience of connecting with energy. I had, sort of several miscarriages, as you all know. I like to think that I was able to give them what they wanted and what they needed. Each time it broke my heart, but each time, once I knew what was going on and what was happening, I'm very proud to have been able to be a part of someone's experience, a soul's experience of being able to use me and to use my energy and to connect in some way with my energy. And it makes me feel very proud that they, were nice enough, kind enough, and thought enough about me that they knew that I was strong enough to be able to combat what was going on with me. Chris, I'm so sorry for that. I hate when people say these things, and when you say a medium told me, I'm sorry, back, and look, now I'm lecturing again. I'm doing it again, but it's so frustrating when you hear, a medium told me this and this and this, and you just, I hope you had the good sense to know that that isn't true. And anyone out there has had a similar experience. Look, we don't say anything bad. Those of us who are real, we don't say anything bad or negative, aside from the fact that what she told you is simply absolutely 1,000% not true. Chris, moving on.
I want to give you the heads up that it's 5 minutes of 12.
How did it manage to get to be that time?
Your morning's flying by, isn't it? All right, so Flower's on. Good morning, Rosemary.
Good morning, Flower.
It's great to start the day listening to your stories. This is very encouraging. I have been trying to send healing to my son in this way. He has been having traumatic episodes where he sees otherworldly scenes. I'm wondering if he may have a spell on him. Do you or Grey Eagle sense anything about this?
He sees otherworldly. What was that, Chris?
Scenes.
I don't quite know what that means. Is he seeing? Is he maybe sensitive to these things? I'm asking Grey Eagle, and there's an absolute definite no, he does not. But I think what you're doing is fantastic, and if you'd like us to help you, if you send us his name, we would love to put him on our healing book, and we'd love to put him in our prayers, and see if we can help to bring this positive energy to him so that he can use that to his best advantage. Email me, rosemary@rosemaryalte.com, and we'll see what we can do. Yeah, Chris.
Shashi says, hello, Rosemary. Namaste from India.
Namaste.
Hope you are doing good. I have recently got a business or employment opportunity from a wellness company. Should I go ahead with this opportunity? Do you and Grey Eagle feel I should move ahead with this opportunity and continue my journey with this company? What is yours and Grey Eagle's view? I do have the name of the company if you want to hear it.
No, I don't need the name of the company. I think that, actually, Grey Eagle thinks grab every opportunity you possibly can. I don't think it will mean you giving up what you're doing. I think it will mean somehow including this opportunity and making your world bigger and more. Eventually I think you can really, really learn from this and really use this. So our feeling is grab it with both hands, but don't give up what you have, and don't think, oh, I'm going to take this instead of doing that, because you can do both. You can do what you're doing now plus and more so than you've done before, than you've ever done before. I would like to mention to everybody, just while I'm thinking about it, save the date. We are on the 24th of October. We are doing our first webinar, and the cost will be $45, Chris, right?
Yes.
It will be a 2 hours. I'll be talking about mediumship. I will not be teaching you to become mediums, because I don't believe that we can teach this stuff in this way. But what is mediumship? What does it mean? How do mediums, how do they become, let's say? And what are the things that we should look out for? We've heard a couple of people today say, I went to a medium who, and some of it was good and some of it was not so good. What's to watch out for? What should we be paying attention to? Do we need a medium, or can we connect with our loved ones in the spirit world, our own selves? Lots of talk about this subject, and we'll be doing a 2-hour webinar on the 24th of October. The price will be $45, and within the next few days we should be sending out information where you can actually sign up for this event if you'd like to. Tickets are limited, so if you're intending to come and join me, then get on with it. And we will be taking a Q&A, of course, as we always try to do. So that's a save the date for the 24th of October. Chris?
Barbara's asking, do I have a message from Karen yet?
Not yet, but don't worry, I haven't forgotten. But keep trying. Anything
Okay.
else, Chris?
Yeah, Elke's asking, um, good morning, Rosemary. That is an
Morning.
interesting story. I did have a short dream 2 years ago about a witch who did seem to curse me. How can I interpret this? Hope you can help.
Uh, I'm not. I don't interpret dreams. It may well be someone sort of helping you to understand that there is negativity in this world, and to remind you that, to avoid it, we have to stay positive. I'm asking Gregor, were you actually cursed? And I don't think that's it at all. I think it was a reminder to you, and I think that at this time of the dream, or round about the time of this dream, it is very likely that you were having some negative issues, or some negativity was going to come into your life at that point. And I think it's very, I think this dream was a reminder to you. You can combat this. People can only do to you what you allow them to do. So I think in some ways it seems like a negative dream, but I think possibly, and that just mentioning witches, everybody, and I'm not an authority necessarily on this, but there are good witches as well as bad witches. And I knew a lady who was years ago, maybe I'll tell that story one time. I knew a lady who was a good witch, and she was lovely. She was a lovely, lovely person. But she used a lot of the arts, in the old days, or as my grandson would have me say, in the olden days. People used all sorts of what they used to call witchery. Remember, if I was in the olden days, I'd have been burned at the stake by now. Healing was considered a witchery unless it was done by the church. There are lots of things that were used, and herbs. Or we have herbalists today, don't we? And we think nothing of it, and they can give us some really good stuff. But that also, unless it was done by the church, was considered witchery too. So don't get hung up on the negative of this, because there's so much that is positive about it. And I think your dream was a positive to you, to first of all to give you a heads up, negativity is coming. Second of all, to say, but you can do something about it. Is there anything else, Chris?
Oh, you still have lots of questions, Rosemary.
Okay, but I'm just concerned because we're out of time.
Yes,
We're
we are.
always out of time. Let's do a couple more. I don't want to give
Okay.
it up. Do you, Chris? Tell me if you have to leave, because I'm reliant on you.
I can stay for a little bit longer.
Go
So
ahead.
Hannah's curious, what are your thoughts on healing crystals?
Oh, I have two fabulous crystals. I don't use them, but yeah, they could, I think the earth, everything, how many times have I said that this morning? Everything is energy. And this earth of ours is pure, beautiful energy. If any of you have driven through Arizona and you drive down this road and the red rocks of Arizona soar above you, don't ever doubt. Don't ever doubt in healing energy. Don't ever doubt that this earth of ours, has tremendous energy, because it does. And with crystals, I know a lot of people like to use crystals because it's an aid. It simply reminds you of the energy that you have. But you can get crystals that have a really brilliant and a beautiful energy. And so if you hold those crystals as you're giving healing, they can really enhance your energy. That's what it does. They enhance your energy. Yes, Chris.
Jamie's asking a question.
Yes, Jamie.
Since my dad left in October, I've been so lost. He was my guide in life and the person I went to for all of my problems. What does he want me to do? Is he happy with my decisions and where I am today? What would he tell me?
He would tell you, listen to your heart. Boy, that just came right out there straight away with no thoughts. I think, my darling, your father is still with you, is still talking to you if you listen to your heart. and follow your heart, you will not go wrong. And that is exactly what he would have told you to do had he still been here, and that is what he's telling you to do, because in a way, in his way, he still is here. Yes, Chris?
All right, this one looks translated, so bear with me.
Okay.
It's from Annalisa.
Good morning, Annalisa.
Mrs. Altea, I prayed my beloved mother over and over again. I need her integrity and wise mind to try to fix my long-time trouble relationship. I only had a hint of her moral strength. Still, it's impossible that she's not in me. I desperately need her hug and her powerful drive and will. Happy birthday, dear Mom.
Well, Annalisa, I think your mother is so very much with you. She cannot heal your relationship. You can, but you need the strength and the courage and the understanding that you are not alone, that your mother is by your side. And if you have the strength and the courage, you can fix this relationship. Sometimes, in order to fix something, we need to walk away from it. If a relationship is toxic, if it's causing you misery or unhappiness, sometimes the only thing to do is to walk away. However, love, gentleness, kindness, understanding, listening to somebody else, listening to your partner, these are also ways of fixing your relationship. So, as we just said to somebody else, your mother wants you to follow your heart, but she also wants you to understand you are not alone, you are never alone, you will never be alone. And I think on that note, Chris, I wish we had more time, everybody. But on that note, we do have to finish this morning. But please, all of you out there, you're feeling alone or you're feeling lost or bereft for whatever reason, we are never alone, you know. Our loved ones in the spirit world are with us. Our God force, that universal God energy will inspire us and lift us and help us to find the positivity and that positive energy that we need to go forward. If you need to know more about the books that I've written, that are many, if you need healing, if you need to contact me in any way, if you would like to know more about having a consultation with me, all of the above stuff there, please email me, Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. Make sure to put your name, whatever it is, make sure to put what you're interested in, healing, books, CDs, guided meditations, and on it as we go. Make sure, if you can, to put them in the subject line so we can deal with them quickly and easily. Also, remember, I'm going to say again, save the date, the 24th. We shall be letting you know where you can book, or you can simply email me, Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. I'll give it to you again. And excuse me, please let us know if you want to be put on my mailing list, so that whenever we do events, we can let you know. Again, you must request, please put me on your mailing list, because we don't automatically do it when you email. So please request, please put me on your mailing list, and we'll let you know whatever we're doing, wherever we are. It's just wonderful to have you all here. It's wonderful that we have a worldwide, so many people from different parts of the world. I am so appreciative of your faith in me. I'm so appreciative in your interest in what it is that I do. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you to Great Eagle for being with us today. Chris, I'd like to say thank you to you as always. You are a little gem. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And for all of you who are out there, all of you who have taken your time out this morning to actually tune in and to listen, thank you so much. Don't be sad if I didn't answer your question. We'll be here next week, just keep trying and get in as early as you possibly can with your questions. All right, so that's it. Next Thursday, we'll be doing a Q&A Thursday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is 11 a.m. New York time and 4 p.m. British time. And we should be back here next Saturday again, same time, same place. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, where else? YouTube, Facebook, all of those things. Please, 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 all of you, thank you so much once again. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all of your support. I really appreciate it. We shall, again, we shall be back here next week, as I've said. In the meantime, please, all of you, have a very, very blessed rest of the day, and have a very wonderful and a very blessed weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.